So Chance the Rapper is still doing his interviews. He actually did an interview with Ebro last week where he actually pointed something out that is interesting to me because of everything that's been happening as of recently in the past few days, especially online. He's still doing his interviews. He's talking to Ebro. He's been going from article to article. He recently was in an article from August 21st, claiming that Kendrick Lamar was his biggest inspiration. And he's been recently talked about because of the album that he dropped. He had dropped this recent album, very good body of work, if I do say so myself. But the point that I want to bring up Chance today is because what he said in this conversation with Ebro is what they talked about when it came to the game, to the media, to the rap game, to the industry, and how everything works out, how they try to manipulate the game, how they try to manipulate the people and everything like that, right? So Chance the Rapper says that Drake and Kendrick Lamar's beef made the public more aware of bots and paid engagement on social media. Says that the Kendrick and Drake beef was the first time that the general public started to have real discussions about paid media and botting, not just botting views, but botting negative or positive sentiment. Now, that's an interesting part too, right? When he talks about how the rap beef between Kendrick and Drake exposed the truth of how the industry tries to manipulate the media, as well as saying that they could also pay for propaganda. Now, he says botting negative or positive sentiment, but basically what he's saying is how they're using bots to pay to spin a narrative online, which is crazy because he said this 8 days ago. Now, after that interview, the update on Twitter happened. And as we all know, every account had been compromised. Every account had been exposed for, saying negative things, but not really even being from America. Whether they were saying something about Kendrick, whether they were saying something about America, it was just a whole bunch of propaganda, which goes back to what he was saying. They are botting negative and positive sentiments. They are hoping that they could get the people to be fooled by the things that they're reading online to change their perspective when they go about listening to things or the way that they view a certain artist. Now that Twitter has updated this policy where they have to give or share the location of a person's country, it's showing exactly who has been talking down on certain artists and how that has negatively impacted certain people's perspectives of that artist online. For a great example about this is the beef, right? When Drake sued Kendrick Lamar, he was claiming that he was using payola and bots, but everybody immediately knew, why would you bring up bots unless you know about bots, right? And Kendrick had talked about Drake using bots when it came to the 616 in LA diss track. He had said, you are using Zach Bia and Twitter bots, which later on after this interview ended up becoming a real thing. All of these Twitter bots, all of these accounts that are just pushing nonstop propaganda, nonstop, while Drake or the industry, will keep it alleged, has been pushing bot views on certain songs. Recently with RBX, he had used Drake an example in a lawsuit where he claimed that he was botting over 32 billion streams and was causing money to come out of their pocket for trying to earn views the right way, which is similar to what Chance was saying, right? Chance is an independent artist, or he came up being independent. And one of the things that he said in this interview was, me personally, I didn't know about botting because I was doing it on my own, making music, hopefully posting it, and it connected with the people. You see, and this is where you start to understand the capitalism of things, right? He was saying when people have capital, they're able to purchase these things, able to manipulate the charts because they have the money to do so. But the problem also is when you're trying to manipulate the people by trying to say different narratives, negative narratives about a certain artist. Kendrick, for example, they were trying to say that he was botting this whole time. Drake was the one leading that brigade. He was the one leading all of these other accounts online, on Twitter, to try to denounce, try to disrespect Kendrick by saying that he's botting, that the love isn't genuine. But then he goes on tour and everybody is showing support, from America to Europe, Australia, whatever the case may be, wherever he performed at. It was packed out and sold out. Over 300, 400 million tickets sold, grossing sales, whatever. It's without a doubt that me and you could say that Kendrick for sure is not botting, but they tried to spin that narrative online. They tried to spin a lot of narratives online. Even when we talk about Doechii, they've always tried to spin this narrative about Doechii, saying that she's an industry plant. But how? When you could see the organic growth. The only people are saying that are the people that want to be negative, whether it's to Doechii, Kendrick, or TDE, PG Lang. They just want to be negative. They're trying to send a negative sentiment, which is exactly what Chance is saying. And I think it's a good point to point out the beef for being responsible for this, right? The beef made everybody consciously aware of how the media is trying to spin narratives on the people, on regular listeners, on the casual listener. Even they're just trying to make it seem like we are being taught this by our own thoughts, but really you're the one trying to feed this information to us. And that's the real problem, is that now we have to do our due diligence. We have to make sure that if we are consuming something, is it to spin a narrative off of us, or are they really just trying to be honest? And I think it's always best, what's that saying? Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. You see what I'm saying? I think that's more important than ever, especially after the beef. And if it wasn't for this beef, we would never be aware of these things as much as they're aware. And that's the problem, right? Because Chance, in this interview, he says, I'm aware of it. Ebro's aware of it. Other people are aware of it. But the regular listener, the people, the public, they were never really aware of it, or they never really cared about it. Now that everything is going back and forth online, it seems to be that now we have to understand that every time that we consume something, we have to really focus on why we're actually getting fed that in the first place. Is it because they want us to consume this, or is this something that has just popped up in my algorithm? You see what I'm saying? But without a doubt, the discussions revolving around paid media and botting are definitely an after effect of the Drake and Kendrick beef. And I think that's a good thing, right? We do now have to understand what we are consuming and why are we consuming it, instead of just consuming it without any questions asked. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think this was a good thing for Chance to talk about. In all honesty, I don't really blame Chance for being honest about this, because he's been someone who's independent. He knows what it takes to drop good music that people would genuinely listen to. He never had, at least in the beginning of his career, and I don't think until now, he's never had any bot allegations. He's never was accused of using bots or anything like that, using like crummy tactics, like making accounts talk bad about another person. If anything, there was people using his name to say negative things about others. I remember there was individuals on the podcast that were trying to use Chance being snubbed as an excuse to say something about Kendrick Lamar's GNX, but he himself has never been negative, or has never said anything negative or tried to spin a narrative. And I think that we have to watch out for the artists and the fans of those artists who are saying negative things about other people because they want to be disrespectful and not want to accept that the love that the other person is being genuine, or is genuine. My apologies. But this is definitely an interesting interview. Y'all could check it out. I've only just got the quotables here just to get your opinion on it, your thoughts on it. Y'all could tell me how you feel about this in the comment section. Y'all make sure that y'all tap in, show some love to the channel. Merch is in the description. Patreon, Discord is in the description. Make sure you check out the last live where we talk about the bots over there on Twitter. So I appreciate everybody out here. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace. Keep it a legend.